Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna film a smoky date night look. So this was gonna be a little different than the other smoky eyes that I've done, a little more sexy. So let's get started. First, I'm gonna start with priming the eyes, and I'm gonna use my Painterly paint pot. I have not been using an eye primer often, but for date night, you really want to because you don't know if things could get sweaty. You don't know. So you got to be ready for anything that could happen, especially depending on what kind of date this is. So here we go. I'm just going to spread this all over the lid from the lash line to the brow line. And my brows are still ruined. I have not had them done professionally since February. So RIP my eyebrows. I'm so sad. Oh, and I am using a MAC brush that is no longer for sale. It was in one of their little like holiday travel kits, but basically it's just a medium width synthetic brush. So it applies eye primer quite nicely, also really good for concealer or foiled shadows, anything like that. Okay, so sometimes I also then set the primer with translucent powder, but I'm just gonna go in and see what happens. Today I'm gonna be using an oldie but a goodie, my MAC. This palette, from the MAC Art Library. That's right. Loved this. For a minute, this was my everyday. And this is the color palette Flame. So now, using our MAC Art Library palette in Flame, I'm going to go in with this 217 and get this party started. I'm going to start off with a really light color today. I'm going to use the second color on the top row, and this is called Samoa Silk. Ooh, that's a really pretty name. Love that. I really want like the variations of the colors to show today, just because like when you're on a date night, I mean, that's really when you want to bring your A game. So you got to get this date night glam going. This color, by the way, too, it almost feels like it has a lot of moisture. It's kind of wild. Like it's kind of like cream. I mean, or that could be the lack of setting my eyeshadow primer. Who knows? It's just sometimes I feel that when I set the eyeshadow primer, that the eyeshadow just doesn't stick as well. So, you know, every day, different technique, new experiment. So with this color, Samoa Silk, I'm just going everywhere. I'm not really paying attention about where I'm putting it. I'm not being too strategic, just kind of getting wild. And because this stage, as you know, as I've said before, is supposed to be just messy. All right. Pretty. This would be really pretty all by itself with a little shimmer on the lid for just a daytime date day. All right, so we're done with that. We're gonna go in with the first color in the second row right here. And this one is called Dada Issues. You know what? I'm gonna use the 217 again. Kind of wanted a 221, but if it isn't handy, we'll just pretend we're back at the MAC counter and have to work with the two brushes that we have and make it work. So I'm just trying to go in a little bit more of a refined area than I did when I did the first color. That way you get a little bit of graduation of color. Because you don't want to morph the two totally together. Kind of creating a little halo smoky too. Just leaving the center of the lid with no shadow, because I'm gonna put a really pretty sparkle right there to make the center just pop. Let's see. I'm gonna go in with a pencil brush from MAC also. The number is 219. Just gonna refine this a little bit with the same color to start creating a little more crease definition. And today's kind of like a brush challenge day where I'm just working with what I have clean. Okay. I'm gonna go back with the 217 and just kind of smoke everything out a bit. And I know this probably looks like I'm being really careless, and I am. And I feel like for a nice flirty smoky eye, sometimes there is a lot of careless elements that take place. Kind of makes it more fun too, instead of being so strategic and so worked up about it, you know? Just like let it flow and see what happens. I'm not actually going on a date today, which is kind of a bummer. But I've been inspired to do this, kind of like, you know, summer love inspiration. So it is also like a summery looking smoky eye. Kind of like a sunset effect going on is the goal. But yet very wearable, very like subtle, natural. Now I think I want to go in with something a little heavier, and I'm kind of torn between this one and this one, but I'm gonna start here with Everyone's Darling. It's kind of plum, it's a little lighter than the one above it. And I'm just going right along the crease of the eye. Now I'm gonna go back with my 217, blend a little in the corners, really get that graduation of color. Let's coat that a little bit more. Sometimes it's good to have a clean blending brush too, so you can move things around without adding any more pigmentation or making anything too muddy. I'm gonna go in with a little bit darker color, and that's gonna be Embark. How funny. I use that one all the time and I didn't even recognize it in this palette. It is right here, Embark. It's like a very muted, dull plum. It gives smoky eyes the prettiest touch. It almost like creates an illusion of like black shadow, but without being too black. Because when you actually use black shadow, sometimes it doesn't look like a true black, and it kind of looks blue black or any other variation of that. and it can be really harsh, which sometimes like that's exactly what you want, but for this look, not so much. Pretty. I'm gonna put a little bit of this pretty transition color. This is coming from that side, Rule. I love Rule. It looks so much less orange in this palette just because of all these other oranges that are complementing it. But it's such a good transition color, especially for like a sunset kind of smoky look. I'm just gonna take that across the top of where all of our colors are meeting. And I know this looks like such a mess, but I swear it's all gonna come together. I'm gonna add a touch more of Embark in the crease just to like really kind of define that line. And this is similar to the MAC pencil brush. It's just an off-brand, but the MAC pencil brush or any off-brand brush that's shaped like this is great for applying colors in the crease to get that definition. And then I'm gonna wipe underneath with my makeup wipe, not making it too sharp of a finish, trying to still leave it kind of like smoky. Not super edgy. Okay, now I'm going to do my crease color. Hold on, forgot my Fix Plus. Wait, did I say my crease color? I'm gonna do my lid color. I'm not sure what I said, but okay, I'm gonna do this pretty coppery gold, and this is called Amber Lights, a classic. So I'm gonna take an eyeshadow brush shaped like this. This particular one is just a silly two-sided brush that came in my Anastasia palette. But any eyeshadow brush with this kind of shape that's flat and dense, synthetic or natural hair, doesn't really matter, will be perfect for applying to the lid. And then I'm gonna spray it down with some Fix Plus. Maybe just redip a touch because I want it to be really pigmented when I go in this area. And this is what's gonna bring everything together. This really helps create a lot more definition in the eye look. That is our lid color, Amber Lights. I'm just gonna do a little more blending work with this shadow. Now what I'm gonna add is my all-time fave, of course, some Teddy liner. I'm gonna go in the upper. I'm gonna make sure that there's no flakes falling off of that because I am going in the waterline of the top and bottom. This is such a must with these smoky eye looks, or these brows. I can't look at myself another second. This is just offensive. Now, my brows are just so far gone right now that I'm gonna just do the best I can by just adding a little bit of shape to them. I could go in and like cut them with concealer and all this drama, but because this look is so kind of smoky, smudgy, I almost think a little bit of a messy brow will complement it. And I'm using the brow styler from MAC. This is Lingering. I often use brunette, but truthfully, this is just what I grabbed. So this is what we're using. Now I'm gonna go in and do the top liner with Brush Brown. It is a liquid eyeliner from MAC. It just works really great for a softer liquid application, being that the color is very similar to Teddy. So I'm just like hugging the lash line because this doesn't need any crazy amount of eyeliner. And I am gonna wing it just a little. We're gonna get started on this face now. So we're going to get started with foundation. It's amazing how eyeliner really just kind of brings the look together. Today I'm gonna use Fit Me in color 124, but I am going to add a little something to it. I'm gonna add a pump of MAC Water Weight. This is color NC20, which is really light for me right now. So I went with the darker color Fit Me so I could kind of balance the two. This just kind of makes the consistency of the Fit Me a little more moisturizing, but more importantly, the water weight has broad spectrum SPF in it. And I don't know about the weather where all of you are, but here in California, the sun is out and like with vengeance. So I figure let's protect the skin while we're at it. And I'm gonna just do a thin layer today. I feel fortunate that my skin has been in really good condition lately. So we just need a little bit, a little something to even this out. I like to get under this chin just a little bit. Now, you could spend hours, like literally just forever blending your foundation and making it perfect. But for me, I try to make this the quickest step because essentially it's pretty easy compared to eye makeup and all the detail. So I try not to drag it out, you know, too much longer than it needs to be. So that's that. We love my nose ring hanging right here. Trying to avoid getting it all covered in makeup. Now I'm taking my MAC Studio Fix 24-hour smooth wear concealer. Love this stuff. And I'm putting it underneath my eye. I'm gonna try to do a thin layer. I'm always pretty heavy-handed with concealer though, because I don't really sleep well in a mom life. So under my eyes are always fairly dark compared to the rest of my skin. This really helps the concealer to look more natural too. Thins it out also. So if you did get a little heavy-handed, I feel like when you go in with your sponge, don't worry. And this is my favorite way to do concealer. Now let's get in and set this concealer before my wrinkles can't take it anymore. I'm gonna use a bigger brush today and see how this works out. I'm gonna use this guy. Usually use this for highlighter, but it's a nice shape for setting the under eye too. Just focusing on the tip of it versus the whole mass. And I am using Laura Mercier's translucent powder, my favorite. Okay, so what I do, I'm gonna have to because my brows are insane. I was trying not to carve them at all. But looking at them, that is not gonna be a possibility for me here. So I am gonna carve them. I'm gonna actually use the same brush that I used to apply my eyeshadow primer. Just because it's very dense and you can guide it really well. You don't want a brush that's really frayed or messy when you're doing this, because you just want a good clean line. These brows, like, I've completely I can't even see them, you know, like, my gosh, this is so bad. To my eyebrow girl, if you're watching this, Crystal, help. All right. And then after I carve them out, I just like to take my beauty blender and kind of pat all that in. I don't know if any of you guys are like me and you could just spend forever perfecting the situation. It's almost like you have to force yourself to stop. That's me and makeup. Like I could sit here all day just like having fun perfecting it, but I'm like, okay, got places to be. All right, so now I'm just gonna set the rest of my face because I haven't done that. And now I'm using a MAC 135. I've made such a mess on my table, you guys, like you really wouldn't believe it. You have to see it to believe it, but I'm too embarrassed to show you, so. I'm going back in with one of the pencil brushes I used earlier and adding a little bit more smoke after the eyeliner, just because it did get a little sharp once we got in with the concealer and everything, which it is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I just think a little softer, you know, wouldn't hurt either. So I'm just basically using whatever was left on the brush. Now let's do our bronzer. I love this silly drugstore brush I bought years ago, and I'm gonna use my Give Me Sun bronzer. I'm gonna get a really nice layer in that cheekbone area, kind of create a little contour, a bronzer, if you will, and yes. Then I just kind of like lightly dust it everywhere else to create like a nice blended effect, especially by the hairline and the forehead. If you don't have a large forehead, then you don't really need to do that step, but I have a pretty dominant forehead, so I like to just give it a little contour and then get under here just for blending color purposes. And then I'm just gonna go in and highlight. I'm gonna actually use this brush that I do typically use for highlighter, and Jaclyn Hill highlight in Extra, because why not be extra? She's one of my favorite makeup influencers. Honestly, like her style, all of it. Now for mascara, that's gonna be our next step. It's gonna really just kind of complete our look. I'm first going to curl my lashes, and then I'm going to be using my NARS Climax mascara. Okay guys, so my mascara is on, and I did go ahead and change my fit. So this is what I'm wearing to go with my smoky summer look. Now I'm gonna apply my lip, which I'm gonna use Hazelnut Tea from Laura Mercier and Oyster Girl from MAC. This look is just like a hodgepodge of everything. Now for Oyster Girl, to lighten this lip up. This is the look. Hazelnut Tea and Oyster Girl. And now I'm ready for Summer Love.